Welcome to an introduction to standards-based reporting, an initiative of the Darlington County School District. What is standards-based reporting? It is a way of measuring mastery toward the grade level content. Final mastery is the goal. An example would be a student might be struggling at the beginning of a grading term with a concept, yet by the end of the grading term they have mastered that concept. Under traditional grading, that student might have a C average for that reporting period. However, under the standards-based system, because they have reached mastery, their score will show at the mastery level.
Participating in it, or some of your children and you may be participating in it now, and some of you might not be. It's called the Standards-Based Reporting Initiative. And in a nutshell, folks, we're trying to change the way we grade our students. If you think about it, we're all used to grades. We know that a 70 means a D. We know that an 80 means a C, or an 85 means a B, and a 93 means an A, and a 69 and below is an F, and those aren't good grades, and we're all tied to honor roll grades, and those things are important, and a lot of us believe that grade point averages and all those kinds of things mean a lot, and they still do in our world, but I think there's a more effective way. It's certainly not something I've invented, but it's something that's making a lot more sense when we call standards-based reporting. And I first got the idea to implement it in our school district, sitting as a middle level district office person in North Carolina, sitting in having conversations with parents and with principals and teachers about particular students, whether or not the kid was going to be promoted to the next grade level or not. And the conversation centered around averages and numbers. Your child has a 63. And he has a 63 because he didn't do this assignment and this assignment and this assignment over a period of time, and we gave him a 0, or we gave him a really low grade, or I should have given him a 0, but I gave him a 15 or a 25 because I had to have something. I just was trying to encourage him to do better so that he could pass his classes. And that still didn't make much sense to me, because I'm thinking, well, what does the kid know? I mean, can a child multiply? Can a child divide? Can a child write a complete sentence and that's grammatically correct and punctuate it properly with a period or a question mark or an exclamation mark? Can a kid use subject-verb agreement correctly? Does a kid understand cause and effect through studying history and war and those kinds of things? So, in short, can a student problem solve? And I don't think numbers fix that. But it's what we're used to. It's what you understand. It's what many of us understand. But I want to take some of you back to your college days, or if you didn't go to college, just think about your last school experience and think about what your teachers did. And I'm going to share a little scenario that's not necessarily true, but it could be. Suppose I were taking a college class in learning how to tie a shoe. And the college professor says, now I'm going to give you 3 chances to prove that you can tie a shoe, and I'm going to average your grades, and you have to get a 70 to pass, and you can't pass it unless you make a 70, and if you get an 80, I'm going to do better than high school. You're going to get a B, and then if you get as low as a 90, I'm going to give you an A, even though it takes a 93 to get an A in most high schools and grade schools and middle schools in our country. So he gives us a test at the very beginning, and poor little Eddie, he just can't even cross the strings. I'm not a very tactile learner. I don't have a good feel for things, and in fact, I'm diabetic, so one of my fingers is actually numb, so I can't really feel the laces. And so when I get my first grade back, it's a 20. And I really didn't earn a 20 because I couldn't even cross the strings, but the teacher felt sorry for me because he likes me. I'm a pretty nice guy, and I don't misbehave in class, so I get a 20. And then in October, he gives us another assessment, and I'm doing a lot better. I tie a knot, but it's a granny knot. It's one of those things that's so discombobulated and difficult that the teacher has to get his scissors out and cut the lace out of my shoes. places because you can't get them on time. So he says, well, at least he got a knot. It's a pretty bad knot, but I'm going to pass him this time and give him a 70. Now remember, I had a 20 on the first test. And then the final test, I finally learned how to do it. I'm taking some medicine, my fingers feel better. I start to learn a little bit about what tactile feel is. And I tie a perfectly good shoelace. I mean, the knot is just as pretty and it's even and it's just as tight and it won't come undone. And the teacher says, boy, he gets an A on this one. I'm going to give him a 90. Now the term's over. I'm ready to sign up for my next class, and he averages the grades. Well, it doesn't take a calculator to figure out that a 90 plus a 70 plus a 20 is 180 divided by 3 is 60. So, oh, poor Eddie. He's punished for, he ties a knot perfectly now. He's met the standard because the course is learning how to tie a shoelace, but I can only give him a 60, and he fails his class. Now, folks, to me that doesn't make any sense. If the course is learning how to tie a shoelace, and I can demonstrate at the end of the term, the school year or the school term, that I can do it perfectly, but yet I still get an F because I couldn't do it earlier, then I'm penalized for my earlier failures. And what that actually does for kids, a lot of kids, is that they'll quit trying. Okay? Thomas Edison had a full plethora or a full contingent of lab partners, and he failed hundreds of times before the light bulb was ever invented. And I don't have to go into all the sports analogies, but we all know that Babe Ruth struck out far more times than he hit home runs and was the home run king for so many years. So why do we penalize? Failure is part of the learning process. Well, none of us gets it right the first time. Did you swim perfectly the first time you jumped in a pool of water that was over your head? No. You had to learn. That's how we are as human beings. So by asking our teachers, a lot of teachers, it's a lot of work, and the teachers are to be commended for focusing on the standards. So what does a child really know? So if I sit with you and we're talking about math, then I can have rich conversations. Your child knows the 9 times tables really well. 9 times 7 equals 63, but I'm not sure he understands the concept of a group of 9 multiplied 7 different times adds up to 63. Okay? And then can he use that multiplication to divide numbers? Or maybe he knows his multiplication tables with 1 digit, but what about 2-digit multiplication or 3-digit multiplication? Can the child do that? Or mixed numbers and fractions? Those are richer conversations than he made a 70 on this test and he didn't do this homework. That's what I want us to do in our school district, is to have richer conversations about what our children know, what they need work on, and how can we help them improve. And if we do that, folks, the sky's the limit. And I believe that working together, we can give your children, provide your children, not only a free and appropriate public education, but one that excels and is much better than the standard education that we see so many places across our country. Thank you for your time, and I hope you guys have a great school year.
Hi, I'm Christy Austin, principal at North Hartsville Elementary School. The implementations of standard-based report cards has brought NHE a new level of excitement. Teachers are able to really find out what students know or need and can hone in on these items. Assessments become much more deliberate as we look to see what a child knows and to what degree. Rubrics and project-based learning become much more commonplace as we assess student learning. A much more holistic approach means we are really getting to know each child as an individual learner. We are involving every teacher the child encounters to participate in discussion about the child as a learner. Differentiated instruction on all levels is being planned as we find out what our students need. We are taking away a numerical grade that really doesn't tell us the details of what a child knows. With standards-based report cards, we clearly articulate mastery levels of our students and have the documentation as a portfolio to show it. I am proud of the efforts of the pilot group of teachers who implemented this project and excited to see the change in thinking about grading, assessments, and differentiation that will come from 100% participation at North Hartsville Elementary.
Hi, my name is Michelle Brand, and I am teaching first grade at Thornwell School for the Arts this year. Last year I taught fourth grade, and year before last I was asked to serve with a group of teachers and people within the district to work on something new called a standards-based report card. And I'm like, it sounds pretty interesting to me, but I was told that it's going to be a lot of hard work and time consuming. Well, I was up for it, so I did. And I learned a lot, and it also helped me to focus my instruction more on the students' needs and their weaknesses rather than possibly overlooking a few deficit areas that they needed extra help in. So that's why standard-based report card is so important. What we did is we took the standards, and those standards are part of your child's learning that the student has to master by the end of the year at each grade level. So what the committee did is we took those standards and made them part of the report card that the parents are going to receive at the end of each quarter. And those standards also have a list of objectives that the students need to master in order to master that goal or that main essential standard for that particular content area. And the students they're given a numerical grade, but unlike the traditional report card, the standards-based report card shows the teachers, and it also shows the parents exactly where the child's strengths and weaknesses are within that area. Again, it's new. We piloted several teachers and several classrooms, and selected students were asked to do this on a voluntary basis, and they did. I have received wonderful feedback from my parents, wonderful feedback from my students, and I even had other parents who had children that were not piloted with this standard-based report card who said that they really, really couldn't wait until all of the children and parents receive this type of report card because it gives us so much beneficial information, not only to help the parents, but also to help the students, and it also helps us as teachers to guide our instruction. So I wish you all a very wonderful 2015-2016 school year. If you have any questions about standards-based report card, there are several excellent people who are available to help you.
When we surveyed parents at the end of the first time we used the reports and the progress report, here's what some parents had to say. It's clear and easy to see where my child needs to focus his work. Another said, I was pleased with the report. It gave great skills that I could use to review and help my child with their skills. Here's a sample of what the reports look like. We have an academic achievement key that goes from 1 through 4, with 4 being advanced understanding of the concept or mastery of the skill. 3, they demonstrate an understanding. 2, they are developing an understanding of the concepts and skills. 1, they do not demonstrate an understanding of the concepts and skills. There are times when a particular concept or skill has not yet been presented to the class, or they have completed that particular skill, and in those times the box beside the indicator will be blank. You'll notice under English Language Arts you have many areas that will each have a score unless it's a blank. So you have many areas to look at your child's strengths and weaknesses. The same is true for the math. You'll have many examples and areas where the child has worked that grading period that will have an indicator of their mastery of the standards. We thought you'd like to see a timeline of how this process has progressed thus far. Back in November of 2013 on into the early part of 2014, there were some meetings held with a core group of principals from 7 schools who identified a small group of teachers to pilot the process. Then in March of that same year, we held our first parent meetings to inform them of the process. And in April, the first progress report was sent home using standard-based alongside the traditional. In May, we surveyed the parents for their reaction to that progress report. In June, we sent home again the traditional report card alongside the standards-based report card. And then later had another parent meeting where we gave them a survey to complete to get their feedback. And in that June also, we identified the teachers for Group 2 or Phase 2, which then expanded to all the elementary schools having a small group of teachers participating. In September of 2014, that second group was trained and immediately began using the standards-based process for report cards and progress reports. In June of this year, we had to realign the reports to go with the new standards, and we worked on the wording to make it a little more parent-friendly. We'll be looking for feedback from you on how we did on that and things that you might see that we need to improve. So the Group 3 teachers are being trained using a video similar to what you're viewing right now. We're also doing presentations like this to all of the parents at all the schools. In October, we're going to have a speaker come in to tell us about how they did it in their district and just to help us give some guidelines on how we continue. Our goal then is by August of 2016 that all schools, all classes, grades 5K through 5th grade will be standards-based.